Jesus came to the table to share this last meal with his disciples, he said some pretty amazing things. Firstly, he changed the focus of this ancient meal, and he turned it to be focused on the sacrifice of his own body. He told his disciples, "This is my body broken for you." And he told them, "This is my blood shed for you." Which is pretty crazy. I mean, imagine what this was like for the disciples, having Jesus tell them to eat his body, which was in the bread, and to drink his blood, which was in the wine. And this was before Jesus was about to die for them. Jesus was telling them that this meal was celebrating the sacrifice that he was about to make for them on the cross. His horrible, horrible death would be turned into something wonderful. But in this meal, there's something very special going on here. Jesus takes his death, which was horrible, and turns it into a sacrifice, which his people can participate in, making a new covenant between God and his people. God is making a new relationship with us, and it will be based on Jesus' blood. The word covenant means to make a formal agreement between two people. It establishes the terms of their relationship. And so in this meal, Jesus was establishing a new relationship between God and us. Now, God is perfect and holy, and so he can't have a relationship with us because we are impure and we don't live up to his perfect standard. So we can't have a very good relationship with him. We can't even live in his presence. And so Jesus' blood is a way to pay for our impurity, a way to wash us clean and make us new so that we can have a new relationship with God and we can live intimately with him through Jesus. In the Old Testament, we see that God's people had to sacrifice hundreds and thousands of animals to pay for their impurity so that they could have a relationship with God and come into his presence. The Old Testament tells this story of God's people's unfaithfulness. They'd broken their covenant with him before God had even finished writing the terms of the contract. The first covenant is called the Ten Commandments, which states the terms of their relationship. But God's people were not able to keep it, and so God was giving them a new covenant that was made in Jesus' blood. Every time the church eats the Lord's Supper, we're entering into that covenant relationship with God. We're remembering the story of what it cost Jesus when he died on the cross for us, and we're celebrating who we are in Jesus. But more than that, we're entering into a covenant relationship through that meal. We're saying to God, we want to be your people. And God is saying to us, I have paid the price so that you can be pure and holy. Every time we come together to celebrate this meal, it reminds us of who we are in Jesus. But more than that, it actually makes us who we are in him. See, Jesus' body and blood forgive us and wash us clean, but it's also spiritual food that helps us to live the new life that he has won for us. God is feeding us spiritually through his body, through Jesus' body, which is the bread of life. Don't you find it interesting that God gives us a meal as a way of entering into this new covenant? To me, it reveals God's wisdom and his understanding of human nature. You see, a meal is so powerful, so much more than an academic message. This meal is not academic, and yet it teaches. It's so simple and normal, and yet deeply significant. When we take the bread, and when we receive the cup, we are receiving all that Jesus has won for us on the cross.